Oh.
What is it?
Oh.
Dude, come on, stop playing around.
You gotta come take a look at this.
Alright. Oh, that's not good.
Welcome to day 2 of the VR4 build, and this is actually the build part of the build. The hard part. Yes. So in the last episode, we drove the car, and the car drove fine.
Oh, it's a little bouncy. Oh!
But it's not going to be good enough to drive 2,000 miles on one of the most grueling road rallies in the world, and these cars weren't exactly known for their reliability. So we got a bunch of parts, and it's gonna be interesting to try and install them.
Actually, before we do any of that, it is extremely hot. I'm just going to turn this on. This doesn't look sketchy at all. Okay, that should move some air. That sounds pretty bad. So we have a ton of parts to install on our VR4, and I'm just gonna go over everything. So the first thing we have is a set of side mount aftermarket intercoolers, and they're bigger than what we have stock. I actually don't know what we have stock. I believe it's like plastic and some really small cores. Now what they do is these cool the air charge, because when they go through the turbos, the air is quite hot. It gets compressed, and then it has to go into the engine, and engines don't like really hot air. So these are very thick boys, but they're supposed to fit in the stock mounting locations, and they're supposed to fit with all the stock pipes. But coming around here is the main focus of what I want to do today, and that is cooling. So I told you guys about the intercoolers and the important job they do, but maybe a more important job is keeping the engine cool, and we have a bigger aluminum radiator, and we have some Peak original equipment technology coolant. Now Peak is actually the sponsor of today's video, and I wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about this because I use this on all my cars. I don't use this specific coolant because there are different types. Right here it's Asian vehicles, and if your vehicle is listed, mine is right here, Mitsubishi 1990 and up, that is what you need. That's the only thing you need. It's pre-mixed 50-50. You don't have to have any distilled water.
I actually really like it too, because I'm able to just walk in, grab what I need for the car that I need, don't have to mix it.
Right here we have some really good brake upgrades. We have Carbotech XP8 pads, and if you can see right here, it says pre-bed. Basically, whenever you get rotors and pads, you have to bed them in. It's like a marrying process. And you have to go up to a certain speed, break down to a certain speed, and then do that over and over. That process is not exactly the best, especially because we're in the middle of a city. So these came pre-bed, I don't have to do anything. And we also have these StopTech rotors. We're gonna be doing a lot of braking, so I figured we might as well get everything brand new. Now coming down here, we also have some new radiator hoses, and then we have a complete exhaust. This was just an aftermarket exhaust I got off eBay. It should make the car sound a little better and perform a little better, because turbo cars perform, well, a lot better with a bigger exhaust. I believe this is 3-inch or 4-inch. This is the maybe pile, because I actually don't know what the history of this car is, and it's only had 5,000 miles since I sold it last. So I got an oil pump, I got a timing belt kit, I got a bunch of OEM Mitsubishi parts. I have the timing belt right here, gaskets, the timing belt adjuster, and I have a full gasket set that I got for cheap. We might not be installing this stuff if we look at the car and determine that the car is perfectly fine as it is. Other than that, I think... Oh,
tires. You can't forget the tires.
You can't forget the tires. So these are my favorite tires in the world. These are Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, and these are in the same size that I have on the car, 265, 35, 18. And these are gonna be quite an upgrade from the all-season mismatched, dry-rotted, disgusting tires that I bought used 5 years ago.
Most importantly, they're 4 of the same.
Yes, they're 4 of the same tires.
Yeah.
Never, ever mismatched tires. We gotta get the car in the air and see what's underneath, because I actually have never had the car on the lift, and I'm a little scared of what's gonna be under there.
But it's only our week-long vacation and trip on the line. That can't be bad.
Oh.
What is it?
Oh.
Dude, come on, stop playing around.
You gotta come take a look at this.
Alright. Oh, that's not good.
We're flaking a little bit. Unfortunately. That's not the worst part.
No.
We've got a small transmission leak, which is not terrible, but she is leaking some. That is a universal boot that they put on top of the factory boot when it split, and it's leaking grease and actually rubbing a little bit.
What's that golden nugget doing on the oil pan, and why is it dented?
Someone at some point decided this would make a good lift point. Quick tech tip, you don't want to lift your car by an oil pan. What do you think?
That's probably not a good idea.
It's pushed it up a little bit. There's heavy rust in it, and they then tried to fix the small hole with some type of solder. Ideally, we would go ahead and pull, weld, and repair, but unfortunately, all of our bolts that secure the oil pan have substantial rust, and the block is substantially rusted. We run into the situation that attempting to remove this oil pan will very likely result in a lot of broken bolts.
Yes.
And put us in a situation that it is impossible to get the car ready for the rally. And
Yeah, we need to tap, and we just don't have the tools or anything to do that.
what we're gonna end up doing is kind of a temporary patch repair where we'll straighten the pan as much as we can with it on the car, scrape all the rust off, and actually use some epoxy to build a little bit better patch.
The oil pan, I'm probably going to get a bigger oil pan, maybe an aluminum one, because these you can't get anymore. And the used ones are going to have the same issues as this.
But other than that, mechanically she actually is sound. The ball joints, the rest of the suspension is got rust.
It's not perfect, but it's serviceable. The exhaust looks...
Yeah, the exhaust is special. We kind of choke down here a little bit to this nice flex section. Then we step back up here to this T. It is separated and leaking at the top there. The O2 sensor was just kind of cross-threaded sideways in.
No check engine lights. It's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. So you have to figure out how to do the wrong thing the right way, which you shouldn't always do, but it's something that if you're ever stuck and decided taking a car on a rally with 4 days time to prepare, how to best fix the worst situation.
Why don't we just take our time and just do it build right?
That's all the time I can usually get off to come down and help.
If you guys don't want Jared to go, write hashtag Jared don't go. So, So it's almost time to start putting new stuff on the car. It's exciting.
It is.
So we got our old exhaust here, and it's looking really old, and our new exhaust right next to it.
This is not quite 100% stock 3000 GT exhaust. It's been patched together with different segments. The whole front segment is kind of wrong. This was where both your turbo downpipes, it goes under the engine to the turbos, through the catalytic converter, through your nice broken section.
What's interesting is that there's only one muffler in this car.
So it comes in to the muffler, does some magic, some of it goes out, and then the rest of it is asked to go to the other side through another small muffler.
This is trickery. This is not actually a dual exhaust. It's not very good for flow. It's not very good for sound. Now we have this. I bought this on eBay. It was the cheapest one I could get, but it has a 1-into-2, and this is more of, it's not true duals, obviously.
Correct.
But it's more, I think it's more flow friendly. So let's talk about cooling. This rally that this car is going on is going to be from Santa Fe, New Mexico to San Francisco, California, and it's likely going to be through the hottest parts of the country in the middle of summer, and I can't risk this car overheating. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna overhaul the entire cooling system. Now the water pump in that car is likely okay. It's not due for a service. I did do it 5,000 miles ago, and they're good for around 60,000 miles. But the rest of the cooling system, that does need to be changed, especially the coolant. And as I mentioned before, I'm using this Peak original equipment technology for Asian vehicles, and this is exactly what my car needs. So a rule of thumb for me is I buy a little bit more than I need just because I don't know how much coolant is gonna come out. I don't know if I'm gonna have any leaks down the line, and you always wanna have a little bit more than you need. And so you guys can get what you need. I worked out a deal with Peak to get $5 off these gallon jugs of OET. All you have to do is hit the link in the video description below, and you can take that to your local auto parts store where they sell these guys. And it's pretty cool because you can take out all the guesswork in your cooling system, and it's very affordable. So go check it out. Are you crossing things out?
I am. We've actually gotten something done.
We got a lot done, and that's because it's the next day. It is our last day before we turn into pumpkins and we have to go do the rally. But here's what we did, and we marked off a bunch of stuff on the list, and let's just go over what we did. First thing first, take a look at that exhaust, dude.
I took the silencers out.
We don't want a silent car. You also did the brakes. So we have the StopTech rotors, we have the Carbotech pads, and those are the front. You can see the brand new pads right there. And I had a heck of a time fitting these new intercoolers in. They look great. I really like the fitment of the intercoolers themselves. The piping, however, was a different story. The piping was well, it was a nightmare because these cars, especially the 99s, they had a different emission system than the 91s to even the 98s. The charcoal canister down here, it was in a different place in the earlier cars, and that meant that it had different intercooler piping. And the CX Racing intercoolers that we have, they were built for the earlier cars. Obviously, they're not going to build a part just for a car that they only build 200 and something of. So we had to be creative. I had to make my own piping. We took one of their pipes and we just cut it down, and we relocated the oil cooler a little bit further back. We just put it on one bolt back there, and we made a few modifications, cut off some brackets and whatnot, but everything is on there. Hopefully it should not boost leak. And take a look at the difference. So this is That's stock, and then that is the big boy right here. So this should make sure that we don't heat soak, at least not as fast. Also, this radiator was a little bit of a pain to deal with because since it's bigger than the stock radiator, didn't fit 100%. We actually had to knock this back a little bit, and the radiator is actually sitting on this radiator support. And I wanted to make sure that it didn't chafe on anything, so we just took a little piece of vacuum hose, cut it in half, and that is the buffer between this metal and that metal. In addition, we had to, you definitely can't see it here, but we had to grind some nubs down. There were some protruding bolts. Definitely have to grind those down, or else your brand new radiator is gonna have some brand new holes in it. We haven't put coolant in it yet, and we haven't put the intake pipe in yet because we ran into a problem with the
KS.
The fake KS blow-off valve.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's take a look at that.
We got the snout off. The valve seat kept falling off.
Yeah.
And the problem with this car, since it's a mass air car, every time that's unseated, it's sucking in unmetered air. And then when you come on to boost, it's not seating. So you have a giant boost leak. So you're sucking in air when you're not supposed to, and you're leaking the air when you don't want to.
So for those of you who don't know what this thing is, this is a blow-off valve. Basically, when the car makes boost, boost goes in here and then it goes into the engine. However, when you close the throttle, it shuts all that boost into this pipe, and then that goes basically back into the turbos, unless you have one of these, and this is a blow-off valve, and that opens up under vacuum like that, and it lets all that boost pressure out, and it makes a cool little chew noise. However, this one, that insert is what makes
the whistle.
Yeah, the whistle. However, this is not a real HKS as far as I know. This looks like Chinese pot metal, and you can tell that the casting is just garbage. So this basically came apart, and we bought a new one, and it's on its way from Amazon. Hopefully it'll get here in time, and if not, then we'll have to kind of deal with that Chinese one. I really don't want to, though. I also don't want pieces from that falling into the engine potentially, so
It'll be fine. It's a Mitsubishi, it can eat all the plastic.
that is very true.
That's the opposite of true.
That's the opposite of true. So in addition to that, we did the trans fluid, we did the diff fluid, the transfer case fluid,
Case, all of that.
and we bled the brakes. We also did a little bit of weight reduction. Right here is, well, this is an interesting piece because the clutch pedal on this car actually has a booster like you'd see on a brake. So it has a power clutch, which I've never seen in any car, but the clutch I've noticed is very, very hard to press. I guess I'll just deal with that, but this is a reservoir, so this makes sure that the booster still has pressure after you turn off the car. However, if you look over here, you can see that there is quite a big crack in this plastic reservoir. So this thing is junk. This thing is not doing anything, and all we did was we removed it. That's a little bit of weight. That's going in the garbage.
It also blocked your intercooler.
It also blocked my intercooler, and it probably gave me a vacuum or boost leak. So yeah.
Found a lot of those. Well, you missed all the other fun here that we did too.
Did I?
All the vacuum lines. And by fun, I mean absolute misery.
Okay.
Previous owner had it plumbed, one of the previous owners, probably the 5th owner ago, right? That would be you.
Is that me? Is that me?
We found the boost control solenoid was connected to the exhaust gas recirculation valves, and the exhaust gas recirculation valves are on the boost valve.
Before you get too technologically advanced for us here is the vacuum routing. I don't know if you guys can decipher that. That is seriously complicated, especially for a car in the 90s. They should have color-coded this or made like A, B, C, that would have been nice, but everything is just black and it just kind of goes everywhere. So that's what we had to deal with and kind of re-engineer because some of this stuff just wasn't even working right.
Right, yeah, nothing was there, so it's now plumbed right. We got the radiator hoses, the thermostat.
Yeah, you also did the thermostat. Thermostat is actually underneath here. It's right there. It's actually not that hard to get to. Did the fuel filter as well?
Yeah, the fuel filter down there. We had the K&N filter that was actually spotless, so that saved us 10 minutes, but 10 minutes when you're trying to do all of this is substantial.
Yes, and we also got a new battery over there because the old battery, it turned on the car just fine, but it was leaking at the top and at the side, it was ballooning out a little bit. And once that starts to outgas, that means that battery is no good. You don't want to put any charge into there because that thing might explode. Now, I think we should probably check if our timing belt is okay. So the way you can check, there's a cam cover right here, and you can just inspect the timing belt. It shouldn't. I mean, I put this in around 4 years ago,
Right.
and it's only done 5,000 miles, so I don't think it should be like in horrible shape.
We should be 100% in its service life, but this
Just a
is
check, right?
the chance that things could be horribly wrong.
There's actually no wear marks or anything. You can actually look. It's not. A lot of times you see small separation.
You're gonna be looking for like cracks or something like that, right?
Yeah, you'll see small cracks. If you ever see cracks on the back side of your belt, change it immediately. This, I mean, it's supple, it turns.
Actually, there's some pretty okay tension here. A lot of these cars, they get very loose because it's a weird setup with the tensioner. The tensioner actually needs oil pressure, and then when you don't have the car on for a while, it basically loses all that tension. Yeah, the belt on this side is just a little loose, and that is normal on this car. So
That's one important thing with this motor and similar motors from Mitsubishi is if it's been sitting a long time, do not push start it because you'll probably run the risk of jumping a tooth. If you're towing it, don't have it in gear because the car is going to jostle back and forth. And again, loose oil pressure, it can jump timing. And you know that very well, don't you?
yeah, fun fact, I had this car shipped from my house and then they had it on a regular shipping trailer. And then when it got to its destination, it wouldn't start because it skipped timing. And I believe that it's because they had the car in gear. And then when the truck was moving around, it might have just shifted something and skipped a tooth. Thankfully, nothing in the engine was harmed, and it ran perfectly fine, and it runs perfectly fine now. But we're good with the maintenance. It will definitely make it another 2,000 miles. I don't think it should be a problem at all. Right now, we need to get everything back together in the car. Ooh, that feels good. Right now, we're just putting everything back, getting the wheels on, tires on, and then it's gonna be first start. All right, moment of truth. This is the first startup after our sort of 24-hour restoration. It's been like only a day.
Yeah, we've only, because the first day was just getting the car over here, getting everything set up. Worked on it through yesterday and a little bit into today. And this is the real first start.
Yeah, this is the actual first start. This isn't like Discovery Channel's first start.
Yeah, the movie where we've started to make sure it's okay, so.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can.
Are you nervous? On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you?
2.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh! She runs! She lives! Does she leak? I don't think so. I hear some more of the exhaust. We'll rev that up after it gets up to temperature. But what we're gonna do now is we are going to burp the coolant. Actually, can you put the AC?
Yeah.
It's our, yeah, the heat all the way up, so we can burp the coolant system. Then all we have to do is recharge the AC, and then she should be good to go. This is sounding pretty good. All right, hit it. Oh yeah, that sounds so much better.
You got all-wheel drive.
We're on the road, and it feels pretty good. It feels really good. It feels way more sorted. The idle is better. The power is better. Well, I mean, we just drove it down the street, but it's coming from a stop. The suspension definitely needs work. We actually don't know what the wiring is, so that hasn't been done yet.
These roads in Dallas.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not good. The Dallas roads are okay, but
She still's whistling.
still over boosting a little bit. So we have to figure that out because it picks up speed pretty good, but I just don't want it to explode the engine. But that's why we do the shakedown run. All right, so we just got back to the shop, and I think we have our official response vehicle team, and we got a drone. Okay, so here is where the car used to be, and there is where the car is now, and I have my friends here, and they're gonna be helping along. Friends, you have names, don't you? Alan and Steven from, yes, I know.
Zero to Awesome.
Zero to Awesome, and now they are Zero to Awesome Detailing. Is that just your,
Well,
your job for
so
today?
far have one customer and they have yet to complete the survey, so we'll see.
These guys are actually very responsible for me getting my Murcielago. They were the originat's of my trailer that I ended up leaving.
Yeah, speaking of, we're here to pick that up. I haven't seen it around. Is it here?
Okay, well it's in California. I'm sure it's still there. It's probably going to be in the next Fast and Furious movie. We just took this thing on its first run, and we learned a lot of things. Number one, it still beeps for the overboost, but we're not actually going past 14 psi. It's actually fine. It might just be that the system thinks we're going more than we need to, and that's okay. We can be faster in this car. Another thing is I overfilled the coolant over here. This is the expansion tank, and that just, well, it just peed all over the front, which is not a big deal. We're just gonna have to take out some of the coolant. The reason why I overfilled it is just because there is no real marking as to where full is. But everything else seems very, very fine other than that suspension. And the reason why I haven't connected the suspension yet is because these wires are different colors, but we're gonna figure that out in a second. But I love how this car is handling and looking. And actually, speaking of looking, this car looks really, really dirty. And that's the reason why those guys are here. Because for the last part of this video, we're gonna completely overhaul the look of this car. This is gonna look amazing. Oh my gosh, you guys. This is my car. This is the car I fell in love with all those years ago, and this is the car I wanted to build all those years ago. It's not 100%. It's not perfect, but I like it like that. I love that this car has been lived in, has been driven. It looks fantastic. I can't thank the guys at Zero to Awesome enough. They did an awesome job. Jared, you have been busting your butt just working on this thing. We got this done in a little over 24 hours. This was a day.
Yeah, just one day of wrenching, and I'm really glad Zero Awesome came by because I don't enjoy that side. And they did.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, they came in and hammered it out and did an amazing job.
This is one of the best looking cars I have ever seen, and I'm proud to own it, and I'm proud that my friend helped me along with this. This is a ton of fun. But actually, we got a little bit more done off camera because when we took the test drive, we heard that we were overboosting, or what we thought was overboosting.
You told me it was the overboost whistle or Warner, and they have an overboost chime,
but we did a little bit more research, and turns out that's not the case. So the wastegates actually do work. Everything works as far as the turbo system.
now, it was overboosted before.
Yeah.
But it still made that noise. These have the clutch booster assist, and we had pulled that big vacuum diaphragm, and that's there. So when the car is off, you have assist on that first.
So the
push.
pedal isn't as firm, right?
Yeah, it's not as heavy just because of the design of the system. There's a hose that would connect from here that goes into this system that goes off into a couple other valves and then comes back down to here. So we've capped it off and eliminated that system to get rid of that whistle.
So it's going to be a hard clutch on this car. It doesn't really matter. That's just a kind of a living with it thing.
We can deal with it. We've driven custom cars with 3 pedals.
Yeah, this is not that bad. Eventually, I do want to kind of rebuild that system, but it's not a big deal. It's totally drivable, and it actually makes it a little more fun. You kind of manhandle it a little bit.
The man pedal, right?
The man pedal, that's right. So another thing we did was we wired back up the suspension, and it took a little bit of sleuthing on the internet, but we found out the color-coded wires, and let's see if it works. By the way, they also did the interior, and it just looks fantastic. It looks brand new.
And we get to live in it for the next week, and it's not going to look that good.
No, it's definitely not. There's probably going to be some wrappers of stuff
some pepperoni sticks.
Some pepperoni sticks, yeah. So key in the ignition, and already it's on. Look at that. So front 00, rear 00, and we can. And it just moves those little motors. That's amazing. And now we have all our settings, and we can basically do it whatever we want. So as it stands right now, this car is completely sorted. Well, we are at the side of the road. We might be a little late to the driver's meeting.